Okay, so here we are for the short training as promised. And this is the process that I'm going to give you the overview of today of how we have helped a range of our clients, people like Dina, who I probably mentioned in message to you, who went from 5K to 40K in a couple of months, how we helped Hayden and Ryan go from 15K to over 40K per month cash collected, how we helped Jane launch her business online and go from 0 to consistent 10K months, how we've helped over 300 people. This is our framework that we use using solid business principles. Now, everything in this is completely free. If once you go through this, you would like some tangible information of how to start to apply this to your specific situation, I would love to get on a call with you and discuss this at no charge and give you all of the information you need to be able to have success. The only reason we work with people is if they need a higher level of support, they need more accountability, or they want to shorten that time it takes to implement this information. So I want to be really open and honest. Transparency is something that's super important to me. This has genuinely been designed to help you and to move you forward. And it isn't some ruse to get you to simply work with us. The information here, you can implement this yourself and you can have success. So I want to keep this under 10 minutes. So I'm going to jump straight to it. I'm going to jump straight into the middle here. So there's two things that we're going to focus on really quickly. We want to look at our success hierarchy. So particularly just for the sake of this session, these three here. So first of all, we want to build our baseline processes. A lot of businesses either have these built out but are inconsistent with them, or they have pieces of this built out, or they maybe have all of the elements, but they're in completely the wrong order. So we want to start to understand what's the goal here. If we're looking to build a six-figure business, let's first consistently produce 100,000 because then we can multiply it. So let's look at this from a really unoptimized, very linear, simple position. If we have one call per day being booked, that's 5 calls a week being booked. If only 50% of them showed up, so 2.5, and we were able to close at between 30 to 40%, and our program was between 2,000 or 2,500, that is approximately 100 to 120,000 pounds worth of cash collected through the year. Bingo, we've got our initial 6 figures. The next thing we want to look at is how do we then start to buy our time back? Because the first bottleneck that business owners that are producing 6 figures start to hit is that they are having to do everything in their business and they are unable to ever take their foot off the gas. They essentially have a pair of golden handcuffs. And the ones who do start to bring team members in quite often have no real processes in their business. They just simply know what they have to do every day, but they can't convey that message to a team member. So what happens is you bring in the team member and then you see a natural drop off in performance. So you go from having a 6 or multiple 6-figure business to now struggling to even make a couple of £1,000 per month, simply because the frameworks and the structures weren't set up correctly from day one. Once we have the baseline processes running effectively, we have time buyback in place. So this can be by bringing in team members, bringing in automation, bringing in AI, as well as just identifying time leaks and optimizing it. We then have a decision to make. Are we trying to build a lifestyle business just simply to support our lifestyle? In which case, we've made it, we've done it. We can stop what we're doing and we can go focus on living the rest of our life. Or are we looking to build the business further? If we are looking to build the business further, this is where we can now start to bring in second and third revenue streams. And we go through the same process of creating the baseline processes in that revenue stream, buying your time back, rinse, repeat. And it's an infinite cycle that can be scaled as high as you want to take it. Now, in the essence of time, I'm going to jump straight to the next bit. You see, I'm going to jump over a few slides here. But I want to look at this thing in particular. So we have new prospects coming in from the bottom, and you can see we have 4 processes running here. We have an attention process, a sales process, R&R process, and business operations. So let me explain what this is specifically. So when we look at attention, I think quite often we seem to be able to split online business owners down into 2 categories. People who are really good at building an audience, but can't really monetize it. People who are good at sales, but don't have enough leads. And then there's this tiny, tiny fraction of people who have both things combined together. So My background was predominantly sales. I spent over 15 years in B2B sales and built several really successful businesses doing that way, including a 7-figure recruitment company and a couple of 6-figure online businesses. But the thing that really came to, ironically, attention for myself was we have to focus on attention first. It makes life so much easier in the long run. So attention doesn't mean you have to build a monster audience. Attention doesn't mean you have to run a paid ad strategy that's going to cost you thousands of pounds a month. Attention means lots of different things to lots of different people. But the one thing that is clear is we need to build an audience. And for the sake of what we're talking about here, online businesses, we want to start with our social media audience. I've been a big fan of organic marketing since about 2019, way before it was the trendy topic that it is today. However, we want to make sure we really leverage this in the short, the mid, and the long term because they require a different strategy. It isn't simply a case of making some value-based content or something that looks pretty, throwing it out to the marketplace and hoping, keeping our fingers crossed with some hope marketing, that it brings us lots of leads. We want to use a data-driven approach that allows us to be able to really make sure that we are bringing new eyeballs to our pages, a bit like panning for gold. We understand that as we scoop up big lumps of mud, we need to shake that mud to find those just 1 or 2 gold fragments or gold nuggets. Those are the clients. We don't want to be selling to the entire audience. We actually don't want to sell to any more than 20% of our audience because this creates genuine scarcity. It creates a genuine desire for the product that we have. And look at the examples that there are in the marketplace. When a new games console is released, PS5 is a prime example, they suppress supply either artificially or sometimes just because they just don't have enough. That pushes the price up. Look at electric cars. Look at anything which currently requires any kind of battery power. There's a shortage on it, which means that resale values go up. We want to work inside of this supply and demand zone. And we want to make sure that we aren't saturating our marketplace by just selling to anybody who has a credit card. I don't think that's a particularly integrity-based way to sell. So we want to look short, mid, and long-term organic strategy. That's going to be different for each business and does need to be built specifically around each business. Then we want to have a paid media strategy. So as we're bringing our clients in, we take a small portion of that, and we're not going to put that into a lead campaign or a conversion campaign where we're trying to get sales. We want to do more of the same. We want to get more attention. So we're going to take something that's working organically. We're going to put money behind it, and we're going to get in front of more people that fit our ideal client, and we're going to further build our audience. So we are delaying that gratification process of getting sales. Now we have social media lockdown. We now want to start looking at non-social media attention. This can be a range of things. This could be, depending on your business, could be stuff face-to-face with people, could be local networking events, could be podcasts, a book, blogs, just simply emails, and nurturing people that way. There's a range of different things you can do even outside of that list. But we want to start to build non-social media attention that we can funnel into our social media attention because we want to drive everything into the machine. But in the back of our mind, and this will tie into the business operations column, we always want to be building a sellable asset. We might not want to ever sell, but we do want to understand that we want to be building an asset that has a value associated to it, rather than just simply doing a load of actions, maybe making a bit of money in the short to midterm, but never really having a long-term plan. We want to make sure these processes are time effective. So we want to use the world around us. Very few of us are working in an industry that doesn't already exist, doesn't already have a track record. Use the data that is around you to understand what is working right now and then put your spin on it. There's a whole host of things you can do here, but I want to be very cautious of time. Then we want to look at sales processes. Most businesses have a very slack sales process. You might have an automated email sequence that goes out when somebody books a call and they get a homework video and a reminder of their call. That's not what we're talking about here. We want to understand that when a lead comes in, it's going to take several approaches to nurture them. Even if they come in and they already tell you they like your content, doesn't mean they're ready to buy anything. But we want to be able to use data to drive people through this process. So when they come in your front door, and what I mean by your front door is the entry point into your lead system. Instead of having 10 or 15 different things that can let people into your world, you need to be able to identify what is the one thing with certainty that all of my leads need to consume to indoctrinate them into my world that will get them ready in the shortest possible time to become a client, or will help them move forward if they decide to bootstrap things themselves. That front door is the place that every single lead in your business has to come through, especially at the beginning when we're building these baseline processes. And as we bring in additional revenue streams, that and only then is the moment that we can start to have different entry points. So we have our front door, leads are coming through. We need to understand, what should they be saying for us to identify they're a good lead? What should they be saying for us to identify they're a bad lead? What should we be looking for when we're looking at their profiles? What's the profile of our ideal client? Not that avatar worksheet that your last coach got you to complete, but genuinely, when you look at your clients, what brings them and ties them all together? What do their profiles look like? What do they engage with? What communities are they in? What things do they say in conversation? What pain points do they have that they will bring up? And if you could solve, would build a lot of trust very quickly, because those are the things that we want to be addressing with people. What we also want to understand is, by understanding this list of green flags and red flags, that allows us to start to build a frictionless sales process. Because instead of forcing somebody into a sales process when they're not ready, it allows us to sell to people when they ask to be sold to. So it allows us to really take people through a value-based process. Think of it, I always like to think of frozen broccoli. You could eat broccoli frozen, but it is not going to be an enjoyable experience. It's much easier if we apply some heat and we cook that broccoli so that it's tender and we can then eat it. Same with our sales. We want to take our frozen broccoli leads, we want to warm them up to the point that they are soft and tender and ready to be consumed. That is what we want to do with our leads. And then as we start to grow, and this really briefly touches on time buyback, we want to use capital protected growth. So this is essentially, as it sounds, we want to protect our money. We don't want to just invest it into human beings, especially if we're in the early stages. If we're only at 1, 2, or 3 or 400,000 per year, we don't want to just be throwing money at people to fix problems or to take over set things because they say they're good. It needs to be a case of, if we're bringing in a team member, we want to start in the place that can create the most leverage by bringing somebody in on a commission basis, or maybe even with some creative finance. So by giving them a slice of the pie over the longer term, like an actual share in the company, you can do one of two things. You can bring in those commission-based sales team members, appointment setters, sales closers, and you can start to feed them volume and present them a unique opportunity to be a fundamental cog in the bigger machine as it grows. Or you can bring in partners into the business. If you are particularly good at, let's say, marketing, but you're not very good at sales or operating, you can bring people in those areas, because you need those three areas really solidly covered: marketing, on operator, and having somebody who is fantastic at the sales side of things. And you could also say the product development side as well. So you have a couple of different options that mean you don't have to risk money up front, but you can then create massive leverage, which causes compounded growth very quickly. The next two things, just to quickly touch on: referral and retention process. Once we have our baseline process in place and we have leads now coming through predictably, we're converting them predictably, and all of that is on lock, we can then start to look at the service we're delivering. We should be delivering a good service. That means that we get a minimum of 70% of our clients re-signing either into the same program or into an ascension program or into a maintenance program. And we also want to have at least 70% of them referring people they know to us. That's going to further help your retention, and it's going to further grow your business. I like to try and operate on a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every one client you have, you want them to refer two people to you. That way, you're going to compound the growth of your business very quickly, and I'll still have that flow of new leads coming through. Every one person that comes in, you are now determined, you should be anyway, but you now are really determined to give them a fantastic service. So they're referring to people to you and they're re-signing. So that one lead turns into 3 long-term clients. Like that is how you start to really build compounded growth. We start to look at it from a lifetime value framework. What can I do today that is going to allow me to build long-term value with my clients so that my business doesn't just have one overnight spike, much like a lot of programs out there teach. They just want to collect a good testimonial. So they simply rinse you of everything possible, cash in your entire audience so you have that one big month so that they can get a fantastic testimonial. You have one moment of greatness, and then everything falls apart because you have no pipelines built. I care more about building the lifetime framework inside of somebody's business to know that they can consistently produce revenue month after month for as long as they want to run the business. And then we have the UPOD mechanism. It sounds fancy, but it's actually really simple. Under promise, over deliver. In the online world, there seems to be this messed up thing of everybody over promising and under delivering. Let's go back to how it used to be in the offline world before everybody was obsessed with social media businesses and online coaching and remote working. The solid standard, the gold standard in a business was to under promise to a client and then over deliver, because they will be much happier. They will stay for a lot longer. You will feel good about what you are doing instead of pulling your hair out trying to achieve the unachievable. Under promise, over deliver. So simple, but super important. And the final thing we want to look at here is understanding that we want our business to be running at 80% profit margin. Simply taking our business, our core cost to deliver our service, times that by 8 will give us a rough marker of an 80% profit margin to start with. So there's something that you can go and do immediately, and that's a scalable number. We want to make sure we're using time buyback strategies. So understanding, first of all, doing a time audit. Once we have that baseline process built, we want to make sure we do a time audit to understand where are the leaks and how can we start to improve that. So how can we use automation, AI, and as I say, team members to start to alleviate that for you to buy your time back and either grow your business as you want or go off and have more free time. And we want to be building a sellable asset at all times. Now, for those of you that are wondering, but what is the exact strategy that Dina ran, or that Hayden and Ryan ran, or that Jane ran? Each one of them ran something completely different in their business when we're looking at the tactic that they ran, because all businesses are unique to the owner. You have to use a process and a tactic that works well with you from the perspective of your risk tolerance, your skill set, the size of the business you're looking to build. But they all follow this principle of knowing that you need to get attention, you need to have your sales, you want to make sure you're getting retention and re-signs, and having a clear business strategy so that you're building a business, not just a super stressful job. If you would like to know how to set up your own tactics and knowing how to actually apply this to your business, be sure to book a short call in with me, 10-15 minutes of your time. We will run through this. Appreciate there's a lot of information here. I hope you found this valuable, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.